Namo Adida Phat. Thanks so much for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This wonderful sound calls us back to our true home. The second mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by exploitation, social injustice, stealing, and oppression, I vow to cultivate loving kindness and learn ways to work for the well-being of people, animals, plants, and minerals. I will practice generosity by sharing my time, energy, and material resources with those who are in real need. I'm determined not to steal and not to possess anything that should belong to others. I will respect the property of others, but I will prevent others from profiting from human suffering or the suffering of other species on Earth. For our Dharma lessons, we've been reading Everything We Do Matters by the Venerable Wuling, and we're continuing in Chapter 9, Climate Change. With our thoughts, we create our world. Accepting responsibility with honor. In his book on hallowing one's diminishments, the Quaker writer John Youngblood wrote, "One might say with the Buddhists that this hallowing is an important form of mindfulness, and try and cultivate the inner posture in which such consciousness can be relatively sustained." Consulting the dictionary, I find that for the word hallowing, the following definitions are offered: make holy or set apart for holy use, consecrate, to respect greatly, venerate. It was a new and most encouraging idea to me that one's diminishments could be made holy, consecrated, respected greatly, even venerated. I saw that the first step for me in learning to hallow the progressive diminishments in store for me was deep-going acceptance. But the acceptance would have to be positive, not a negative one, if it were to be a real hallowing. I must learn to do something creative with it." End quote. We do not know whether we have enough time to alter future events that have been put into motion by so many people for so long. But we need to do everything we possibly can to try. We hear so often about intention. Our intention in hallowing our diminishments of global warming and energy depletion is to accept responsibility for what lies in our future. As Sharon Astick, a peak oil educator, wrote on her blog, Casaubon's book, quote, "We can come to recognize that sometimes the point is not whether we can alter events, but how we face them. We can find meaning, even when we cannot change things, in our ability to shape the meaning of things, to do right, even when the right thing is not enough, to face even very hard times with courage and honor, even though it won't make the hard times go away to do so. We can fight and rail against the things in life that feel so unfair. We can slip into pretending they do not exist." End quote, with, "We can fight and rail against things in life that feel so unfair. We can slip into pretending they do not exist. We can give up in despair, or we can turn around to face that horror and work to understand why it is so terrifying. We can learn to face it with honor and thus manage our fear." May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be peaceful. Namo Adida Phat. Thanks so much for joining me today.